Hi everyone, this is your girl Nikita, and welcome to the Perfectly Powerful You podcast. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Perfectly Powerful You podcast. I'm your host Nikita, and we have a very special guest. It's Jon Fennell. He is a beautiful musician, such a talented dude. He's actually part of the band Loops. Right. I'm really happy to have you on the show. Thank you very much for sitting down with me today.
Absolutely.
In your lovely apartment. And well, in the nature of all things Perfectly Powerful You, we're here to talk all about just people's inspired passions, how they got started, and just being able to inspire others to channel into and empower themselves to live into their authentic light. And I find you to be a really, really great example of someone who, one, knows exactly what they want to do in life, two, has stopped at nothing to be able to just make it a reality, but has come across like so many trials and tribulations, but at the end of the day continues to forward their life in a way that is really inspiring for me, especially since you're so talented and with all of the amazing not only transformations that you've come through in terms of Loops as a band, but also as an individual musician. I would love for you to share even more about what got you started, what made you choose Loops as a band, and just anything else that really comes to mind. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, I really appreciate being on this. So Alina has talked endlessly about this podcast, and I'm super grateful to finally be somebody who can, share my kind of story and explain where I'm coming from in this entire journey, because this isn't something that happened overnight.
No.
This is something that's taken a long, long time. Since I was a young kid is when I started getting into music and when I started really feeling like I wanted to do more with it. I mean, ever since, I was forced to play piano when I was like 5 years old, but I was already playing the drums beforehand and whatever else. But I wanted to continue to learn it. And I had that drive to, do my own thing along the way. So I was learning a lot of classical pieces and learning from great instructors out there who have so much knowledge, but I wanted to go even further than that and say, hey, I like what this composer is doing, but I want to take my own spin on it and I want to do my own thing with it. Yeah. Right. So I think that's where the creativity, the originality that I was able to do with music really inspired me to keep on pushing and learning. And, I taught myself how to play guitar when I was, 13 years old or something like that, because I was just so motivated to try and do it that even though I was a small kid and I wasn't that big, so it hurt my hands so much trying to learn how to play guitar.
Really?
It took me a long time up until I was about 16 years old. I was still trying to figure it out because it was just, I mean, granted, I was like, you know what, I don't have a teacher. Nobody's putting money into this. I'm the only one who's going to invest in myself. So then that's where I started to feel like, if I don't believe in me, then I need, to make sure that I'm, taking care of myself more than anything else.
Yeah. One, because I knew that you were playing piano from a really young age anyways, and that your family has always been very musically talented. But I know that even just even the fact that you said that it hurt, but you just kept going anyways, that one, it kind of surprises me, but also I thought that it would maybe be so you had no teachers whatsoever.
I had no teachers. I mean, like I said, I had great instructors when it came to classical piano, and when it came to drumming, I had instructors for that who really helped me, get the basics down and what I needed to learn about music's core.
Sure.
I feel like I learned throughout that duration. I continued piano lessons up until I was 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was just like, this is helping me with the other things that I'm doing. And I'm able to continue on with classical piano, even though I'm more interested in writing my own songs. I'm more interested in, working with other people and working with other musicians to create music on a stage and perform for other people out there. Right. So rather than just practicing my scales and making sure that I know Bach and Mozart and whatever else under the sun. Right.
I think those are wonderful too.
Absolutely. And I've got nothing wrong with any of those kind of genres of music, because that's what I grew up listening to. My mom was a piano teacher, and her mom was a piano teacher, and my great grandma, she was a piano teacher, and on my other side of the family, they're all piano teachers, and my dad owned a piano store. So it's like, if I wasn't going to play the piano, then whose kid is this? Is pretty much what it was.
Yeah, but I love the fact that even though you were able to have so many resources to be able to, well, because obviously you had an interest in music, or else you wouldn't be doing it,
Yeah.
but that you were supported in an aspect or two to be able to like continue to learn the foundations of music, but that there was still like a part of you that wanted more from it that felt different from your family, which I really love that you pursued that, because you said that you learned guitar on your own, but that the foundation of music was from your family, and like they supported you in
Yeah.
being able to learn from like people who already had the skills. But even then, I know that you also taught people like how to learn how to play music. Was it
Yeah.
strictly just piano,
Well,
or
that's the thing is with like teaching music, I've never been confident in my own abilities.
oh,
So I've never actually been able to say I did an awesome job with that. Like it's very infrequently where I feel that powerful about like what I'm personally doing.
sure.
And I think that my confidence levels have slightly changed since being able to teach guitar was actually the only instrument that I taught. Because I feel like with piano, I know everything about like how to play your scales and how to play these like earlier pieces of music. And then, I'll be able to say at a certain age, I can't teach you anymore because I don't have the skills to
Sure.
continue on.
And that's
But
okay.
I didn't want to do that. I wanted to say, this is what I learned. So that's what I tell people when I
Yeah.
like get into a lesson. It's like, I'm self-taught, right? So I've learned everything else like that I know, right? And this is what I can teach to you. But if you're looking for something specifically like this or like that, you want to be an awesome lead guitarist, I'm not the guy to talk to. Like I will send you in the right direction, and I've got awesome friends in the music industry who I would be more than happy to send their way, just because I know that their abilities, and it's probably the same thing that people are like, you know what, go and talk to Jon, because Jon's somebody who really understands the feel, and
Yeah.
more than anything else, it's the feel and the songwriting that I connect with more than anything else.
But it's also the passion as well. And I love that you're very open and just saying, I don't know everything, but I do know a lot of things. And I know that it's just like, again, it's through passion and drive and dedication that really allows you to transcend a lot of the barriers that may have been like a lot of mental stuff. Because I know that even with the amount of transformation you've had in your band is just from where you were as a child to where you are now, and even how you're like headlining a show, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. And that you're like just having so many places like contact you, that you actively reach out to others to be able to like it's really obvious that the passion that you have and the dedication you put in to being able to want to pursue this as a like phenomenal career, it's already like on its way. And we know that it's just going to go even further because this is what you want. And like you see like a really clear vision for that as well. But I know on the side that you do like you used to do teaching, but you also have Loops as a band. You do other things on your own. Is there anything for those who either like want to do music or just who want to like start in something that they feel passionate about, that they may not have like every like foundation along the way? Because you said that you were self-taught, so it means that there was just something in you that wanted to learn more, that maybe didn't have everything set up right away, but that you wanted to figure out a way how to do it anyways.
Right. And I mean, like, that's one of the things is that I learned so much along the way. And that's not just from learning how to play guitar and teaching myself how to do that. It was also once I started going to open mics and going to coffee houses and feeling like, you know what, I can continue to do this. And now that I've made a couple friends out here, maybe if I can do a show, then some of those friends will come back. Right. And that's all that it was at the start, especially since, being from Winnipeg, I moved out to Kamloops when I was 18 years old, and I didn't really know too many people. I actually knew nobody when I first moved to Kamloops, and I met people through music, and that's how I connected with people. And I'm like, this is what I want to do, which is completely different from the reason why I moved to Kamloops, which was originally for like adventure and rock climbing and all that kind of stuff in general. But then I realized how much I loved and missed music, that I felt like I needed to continue on with music. So, I mean, when it comes to the building blocks and the foundation of, anybody who wants to, succeed in what they want to do, I think that you've got to want to do it, not just because you feel like it's, what you want to do, but
Mm.
it's almost like it's what you are meant to do is kind of the thing, if that makes sense, right? It's one of the things that it didn't happen overnight for me. It's like I loved playing music, and then I came to BC because I wanted to be out in nature and I wanted to be
Yeah.
in the environment and in the area. And then music found its way back into my life. And then since then I slowly like, started doing more and more open mics, started playing shows, hosted an open mic. That's where I met Kevin, my bandmate from
Yeah.
Loops. And since then, like things have just taken off, which is incredible. And yeah, like you said, we're headlining down in Vancouver
Yeah.
at the Blarney Stone, which is super, super cool. And I mean, it's just been a long road to get to that point where we're able to be, selling out shows here locally and selling tickets in other places, and people want to come and see us just for the sake of, this is something cool and somebody that I haven't seen before, and I've checked them out on Instagram and like whatever else, right? It's just the word of mouth obviously means so much to any kind of business out there. And
Totally.
it's not just music and putting your stuff out there, but I mean, if you have something that you're really, really passionate about, I mean, doing a podcast, like that kind of stuff only goes right with word of mouth is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it does. And I think like something that I picked out that really inspired me is that it's just something that you always continue to come back to. And I think for a lot of us, there's something that we always just like, oh, like I really, really love this. And for some reason, I just can't shake it. And it's like, for some of us, we just know, like maybe it was just something that we learned from like a child, or maybe just something we come across through experimenting in life. But I think that the like should or the want to in like what we would love to do doesn't compare to the passion that we know that we feel with like for myself it's just like speaking and talking and being able to like empower and enlighten others, but also baking. I love baking. I just like I always did it like growing up. It was just something that I just couldn't shake. And for you it's music. And for many of the people who, because some people, something that comes to mind that I lived with for a long time because someone told me this is that you shouldn't do your passion because you'll learn to hate it. And I, for a long time, that's why I didn't want to do baking as a career, because I felt like there was a lot of mentality around overworking yourself, around learning to do it as a job. And then the mentality around doing it as a job was that, again, you just learn to like, you don't find those boundaries, and that you like, this was again, like just something that was a pattern of thought that people surrounded by. And I know a lot of the others that I've met that they choose to do it as a hobby, and then they choose to live the majority of their life doing something that they don't actually feel passionate about whatsoever. And I think that as someone who is like, you're currently working like technically two jobs because you're at the golf course, but also you have like Loops as your band. But at the same time, like, this is something that you want to do as your career, something that you know is possible, that you want to dedicate a lot of your time to, and it can be like even more successful. But the boundaries that you have, do you find that it's something that is easy for you to be able to manage, to continue to lean into your passion with open curiosity and excitement, while also finding the balance between like it being something where you can find like so much abundance and like, of course, money, but in like also being able to meet new people, to have your time and money freedom, to prioritize your health and your relationships? Like, how is that for you with also pursuing something very passionate in your life that you're also finding great success in?
Could I just stop for a second? You have an awesome way of asking questions, because that's so like well thought out.
Oh,
And like legitimately that is fantastic. Like it's such a great question, because I have always heard that like my entire life that, don't do your hobby because then you're gonna end up hating it. Is one of the things that I always heard, right? And on the flip side of that coin is, a lot of people also say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
Right. So the latter is what I find more often and more frequently than the other, right? And that's not saying that it wasn't difficult or it's not easy, right? Like it's definitely not easy to get to the point where like right now I feel like I'm in such a great place with work and balance and what I need to be doing to make sure that like every day I'm doing something to further loops and like further my band, like because
Yeah.
I feel like if I can put in a little bit more work every single day, then eventually I'm going to get to the point where I don't have to work at the other job, right? If I
Yeah.
can make sure that 1% harder each day equals out to I'm doing this full time and it's
Yeah.
taking up all of my time and it's, helping out with my resources, which I know is a lot of people's, things that will hold them back from doing what they love as well, because it's tough to get your feet off the ground after a little while. So, I mean, like I said before, it wasn't easy at the start, right? When I first started working at the golf course, and it was right when COVID was starting to kind of come over and whatever else, and live music was opening up again, which is the reason why I went to work at the golf course in the first place, but it was because I needed to make some kind of income and I wasn't able to play shows.
Yeah.
Right. So once that kind of hump got over itself, I found myself really burning myself out because I was working too hard at the job and not focusing on music. And then I had to find that balance in between where I could do the two. And then I think sometime last summer was when like, it kind of like switched for me. And then I'm like, wow, this is actually, I'm doing what I love, playing music, and working at the golf course is just helping me pay the bills to ensure that I can keep on doing loops.
Yeah.
Right. And, even to the point where this year, like I got promoted at my job at the golf course, which is super cool. And I'm super thankful over there, but it's actually given me more freedom to be able to do loop stuff because I'm able to make my own schedule and I'm able to say, hey, this is when I'm working. And I can organize that around when I don't, have a gig or something like that going on. So it's super fortunate to be in the position I am. Obviously, the goal is still to get to the point where I can only focus on loops and can do that, round the clock pretty much, because that's a thing that a lot of people also may not realize is that, especially with music, it's a non-stop kind of thing. I mean, I know that with like podcasting and like everything else, that's a lot of hours that go into it. It's not just the 1 hour podcast or like whatever, kind of like 2 hour show or something like that people might see like loops play. Right. It's not just that and how we got there. It's also not even just mentioning just the travel time of the day, the practice that goes into it beforehand, the connections that we make before so we can actually get people to come out to the shows, the marketing, the promotion, all this kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that not a lot of people may recognize. That I think that that's where I'm starting to get to the point where if I'm not spending the time on that, then loops can only go so far. Right. So making sure that all those other pieces continue to get done is going to ensure that I can keep on, doing loops forever, which is the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. And like, I don't imagine that you've been doing it alone though. Like I know that you haven't been doing it alone. A lot of it has been, of course, like you taking the action steps, you making the time for it, because like you were saying, like the hustle and grind that you had, the clarity of the fact that that their circumstance says that it is so possible for you to make loops an absolute career, have it be your main source of income, not only as like a passionate musician, but of course we know that there's always more opportunities. But even then, like there's things that always lead up to being able to make it more sustainable. That comes with time, of course, comes with drive, comes with focus, and being able to put your energy into it. Because when you just kind of like, you're not I know you to be not the person who just like sits back and just like takes everything and says, well, where's all of this? Like it takes everything sometimes.
It does.
But it's because that you love what you do, that you are passionate about what you do. But then there's also a lot of community involvement as well, that there are people who have helped you, like even like setting this up. We're just trying to figure out the microphone stuff, that there are tiny things along the way that, even though it may feel a lot of like solo action to make things concretely come into existence, that even just like the very like little thing about setting up a microphone and figuring out all of this, that it takes more than just ourselves, but that being able to lean on others, especially having Kevin as like your band member, that you guys lean on each other a lot, that you're not doing it solo, that there's a lot of and Aline, I know, like helps you a lot as well, that that it may take a lot of your energy, but it's worthwhile energy, and that the other people who can help and be involved with it can transform it to be far more than just you weighing on yourself and like doing the hustle and grind and then like having it kind of turn out, but like there are other people who can like lift that weight a little bit and make it easier. Like, of course, the dedication that you've put into the golf course, of course you got a promotion, like of course you're able to like have those opportunities for more time and money freedom, because it's like you've been like sending out to the universe, this is what I want. Like, I recognize this is part of my path right now as like being part of the golf course. So grateful to have that, because it's a form of income to be able to pursue what you'd really love, knowing that your dream is possible, but knowing that it's evolving every step of the way. And that again, I love having the idea of people being part of your life, because at every step of the way, I know for myself personally, there's been a lot of times where I felt like I had to do things on my own. And that was when I had the most burnout. But then as soon as I allowed things to open up a little bit, ask for help doing things, that a lot more opportunities showed up, little like nuggets of information that I didn't even know existed. That were just apparent to me when I allowed more support. So for your journey on doing this and being able to like see yourself and your vision for the future of what you have for Loops, how did you find being able to connect with people and being able to have those just weight lifted off of you to make more of this possible and easier for you?
Right. And I think that such a big part of it, like you said, is surrounding yourself with the right kind of people, right? So surrounding yourself with like-minded people definitely helps for like that kind of like inner core that you need to pursue every single day, right? So if I didn't have Kevin, if I didn't have Alina around, then I mean it just gets tougher. It's not impossible, but it's a lot harder doing it, you know, on your own, as is, you know, with everything that you kind of do in life, right? If you can, you know, have your family or your friends and whoever else at least like support you along your way, then you're, you know, it doesn't feel like it's like, wow, I'm carrying all this weight on my back. It's like, maybe I'm carrying a lot, but like at least I've got 10 people who are with me who are, you know, going to come and support me. It's like running a marathon is the thing, right? You know, you're running a marathon. Yeah, you're doing it by yourself. But if you can have somebody who's like, you know what, I'm going to run 5 kilometers with you, or I'm going to have somebody who's going to run in that middle stretch, because I know that that's where you burn out a little bit, right? Then making sure that you can plan accordingly. And I mean, that only comes from experience, like, right? So if you can kind of let those people be around you, right? And make sure that they're, you know, appreciated as well, definitely goes a long, long way for sure. Right. So I think that a lot of what has to do with, you know, going back to like what we were talking about before with Loops, is that it didn't come without its adversity, right? It didn't come without learning the struggles along the way. It didn't come without figuring out, wow, well, not every single show we can count on every single person to be there, right? Right? Because we can't, which is completely understandable. We played almost like 90 gigs last year or something like that, which is a lot of gigs. So it's a lot of gigs. So I don't anticipate, you know, to see the same like faces at all 90 shows or anything like that, right? So so much of it is just keeping your expectations in check, realizing that it's nothing personal against you. Everybody's got something going on, you know, and a lot of people are trying to do the best for themselves, right? Is the thing. And it's never something as in like a malicious attack or anything like that. It's just making sure that you're reminded. And I think that that's where, you know, having Kevin as a business partner and, you know, my best friend kind of thing, like he's able to support me when I'm needing a little bit of help. And I've been there to support him. And, you know, it's come in various different ways, you know, throughout the years, where maybe you got to get some tough love or something like that. Sometimes that's what you need. Right. And I'll be the first to admit that, you know what, like sometimes like I need a bit of tough love, but at the same time, like I wouldn't be where I am today without that. And it's not coming from same thing, like a malicious place. It's coming from, I love you and I want you to know that I believe in you, and I need you to know that, you know, without you, we can't do this together. We're a team in
Yeah.
this effort, right? So
Totally. And I love that because you've been bringing up a lot about like surrounding yourself with those, I'll call them like-minded light bringers. That's what I love saying, that it's those people who, as you put in your energy into the passion and focus that you would love, there are people that just naturally gravitate towards you. So I'm not surprised when you said that you found Kevin, when up until now you just moved to Kamloops as a very young 18-year-old,
yeah.
that you didn't know anybody, that music still, I'm gonna say, found you, but you also found music again, that you like have this really passionate relationship, but that as you like continue to step into the life as someone who wants to have this band as like your career, what you see as being a very big part of your life, and that the more energy and attention and focus you put into it, the more people that start coming into your life who are going to either rise up with you to show you that they support you, and likewise that you support them. But at the same time, there are those who end up fading away, and that's okay, because it's often said that we're our closest five people. So it's really being choiceful about who we're surrounding ourselves with, who we want in our life to continue to lift us up, but at the same time knowing that like we check in with ourselves. Who do we see ourselves as, and who do we want in our life to be able to help us make the biggest impact we can by supporting each other. And I think that especially with the trials that come along with things, I think it's lovely anyways that even when you had shows that you're saying, of course it's not people who are being malicious, people have their own lives, that sometimes we have expectations that we'll have sold out venues and then like nobody shows up, but you still perform your best and you still like show up as people who are already living that life, because even though circumstance may look like something, there is always something greater. And I think it's how I've been hearing in the way that you've just been able to pursue this, that you're not getting hung up on the fact that sometimes things don't go your way, or you have expectations for something greater and it doesn't show up like that, but that at each and every single time you weren't projecting that no one was going to show up. You're projecting that you're going to have sold out venues, that you're going to have something even greater still around the corner, because when you're holding to that, it shall come. But knowing that when things don't look like it, that it's okay, because it's not like it's going to be the be all end all, and that you have others to be able to sure give you tough love along the way and say like, how can I support you in this? Maybe you didn't show up very skillfully here, but how can I be able to support you and be able to like help both of us grow if this is our shared idea for like what you both see together.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. And yeah, I wouldn't be, like I said, I wouldn't be where I am today without Kevin. And like he's been able to be that kind of rock like along the way. One of the things that you said is, you know, regardless of how many people ended up showing up to the show, we always perform the best. It's one of the things that we've always said is, regardless if it's two people who are there or if it's 20,000 people, like we will put on the exact same show, because whoever's there to listen to us deserves our best, right? They always deserve us to put on our absolute best.
Yeah.
And I think that that should go with everything in your life, you know, like, and I that's why all the people that I feel like I've surrounded myself with are in the same boat, where it's just like, if we can't be loving and accepting and whatever else along the way, then I mean, do I really need you to be as close as, you know, we are, right? Like it's not that you can't be in my life or anything like that, but like I want to surround myself with like-minded people who are also like, you know what, I want to make the best of this life, and I really appreciate every little thing that kind of goes on, right? So if there's only 5 people who show up to a show, I appreciate all 5 people who are there, because you guys are the ones who make me want to come back. Like you make me want to continue on and think, you know what, maybe the next time that I'll play, you'll bring one friend. If everybody brings one friend, that means that I've got 10 people at the next show, right? And then if everybody can bring one friend from there, we're looking at 20, right? Like it just starts snowballing just a little bit, right?
Always. Yeah. And I think it's nice because if you didn't show up as your best, then those people wouldn't want to see you again, because how you showed up, like when there's only one person or two people or five, it means a lot, because it's still energy being directed towards you, that they're still supporting you, whether it's 20,000 or 80,000 people. Like, it's still, if you're bringing your A game, that's the energy you're casting out, and that those people will recognize that you're just passionate for the sake of having this, as opposed to, well, I'm not going to perform my best if there's only 5 of you, because it's not showing the same level of gratitude for just being able to do it anyways. Yeah,
that's exactly right. It's one of those things that I really, really love. And I think that a lot of people will always appreciate, especially with like music. It's like, I think that those smaller, intimate venues where, you know, you can only fit, like we're playing on Friday in Summerland, and that's only a venue that's able to hold 30 people, right? So like, that's going to be like a small, intimate venue.
Sure.
But we've sold it out 4 times in a row now. So I mean, like, it's super cool. Like, it's like those 30 people who come out, like, are really excited to come and see us again. Right. So that's the flip side of the coin, where it's like, sometimes it's cool having that small, intimate crowd where we can be like, hey, this is us. What do you guys want this night to be? Because let's make it into something that we're all gonna enjoy and remember.
Absolutely. And something that comes to mind, and a little bit of a different direction, is just being able, do you have anything that you hold to that continues to motivate you when you maybe don't feel as motivated? Because I know for myself that sometimes there are moments when I'm either baking or wanting to do a podcast where there's moments where I feel like I have to do it. And there are moments when I feel like I want to do it. And there are moments when I feel like this is something I would love to do. So do you ever find yourself going through those kinds of different like mental states, and how do you find yourself like navigating them in order to continue to like progress this in the way that you would love?
Well, I think that I really found out, like, the biggest part of me wanting to pursue music came in 2019 after my dad had a big heart attack. And then I moved back, and he had multiple surgeries and ended up having a stroke, and fortunately is still with us today. But I ended up moving back to Victoria because I wasn't going through the best stage of my life as well. So I wanted to work through some stuff, and I was like, I need to record music and write music. So I ended up writing an entire EP. I think it was like 5 tunes long or something like that. And I did that in the span of about 3 months. So I did that. I taught myself all the software. I bought myself a laptop. I bought the recording gear. And I'm like, this is what I need to do right now. So those days I felt like it was like in my blood that I needed to get something out. And I didn't know how to do it other than writing music. Right. So after going through that whole process, there were some days that I would write for 12 hours, or I would record for like 12 to 14 hours, because I was just so driven and I was so motivated to continue to get better and put out the best that I possibly could at the time. Right. So when I ended the EP and I released it, I decided to, play music, and like ended up playing all the way back to Winnipeg, and then found myself back in Kamloops playing shows with Kevin before we were even Loops. And then that's where we started to like form the band. But like along that way, I remember thinking a lot of the time, it's like, I feel like I gotta like continue going, even though like I don't know where I'm going. I felt very lost like at the time. But that's where I started to figure out, this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to like continue to, motivate myself. I can continue to grow. I've been able to figure it out up until now. Kevin was more than happy to kind of like take me in and say, stay with me, right? And then we can make this like a full-time thing. And then during that time period was where I really started to feel, the effects, because shortly thereafter was when everything got shut down, and that following March. So it was only like 4 months or like 3 months that we were like continuously gigging, and then everything got shut down again. And then during that time, during COVID, was like, how do we keep ourselves like occupied? How do we like figure out how to keep ourselves still relevant to people? So, doing Facebook live streams or like Instagram live streams, just to like give people entertainment and a little bit of music so they can do something rather than just sitting on the couch and watch Netflix. Right. And then we did some charity events over Zoom and whatever else, that we ended up raising money for like a couple different charities throughout November and December. And then after that was where it really, started to feel like things were opening up again. Like I was like talking about the golf course, and that's where that started coming in like 2021. And then that's where the days where it felt like I was like burning out, and then I was trying to figure out how to keep on going on those days. And then the thing is that it's just a big way of coming back to like the start of your question there with
Yeah.
like feeling on those days where like you're forcing yourself to work,
Yeah.
and then you're feeling like I can't wait to start work, right? And then like, I need to work because I love what I do, and it doesn't feel like I'm working, right? So like those 14-hour days started coming back where I'm like, the 14-hour days of like recording in the studio,
Yeah.
right? So not that like we were doing that, but like that's what it would feel like. It's like I feel like I gotta continue and I gotta like keep on doing this because
Yeah.
I'm so motivated that I could keep on doing this for as long as I can. Right. And then on the flip side, when I was like working a ton at the golf course, and then I was trying to like force myself to send off emails and force myself to do that, I'm just like, I know that if I don't, then I'm not furthering myself, because there were days that I'm like, I'm just going to call it and I'm just like not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where in that first year, I was really trying to figure out a lot of the balance, because that was the first time that I'm like, I'm more motivated about my career than I am about this job. Right. Because before it was like, I'm motivated about my job because it's what's paying my bills. But right now I'm like, music is paying my bills just as much as it's like, that I'm getting paid from the golf course at the time. Right. So, I mean, that's, to this day where like I'm able to fortunately like still like make more like playing music, which is why like I'm so motivated about it. I mean, not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons. Absolutely. So I think that, you know, coming full circle, it's been a lot of trial and error over the last number of years when I started figuring out this is what I want to do, how to manage like myself, because as a lot of musicians out there they've got a manager who's able to take on some of the responsibilities that the artist doesn't really have to worry about. But in our position, we got to do everything, right? Like we're completely independent, and we, are able to finance ourselves, but it's almost like every penny that we're getting in, we're putting back into the band, because that's what's going to help us get forward, right? So it's not like we're walking away with a ton. It's crazy how much actually goes back into it. It's just because everything's so expensive nowadays in comparison. But I mean, I think that everybody can benefit from figuring out how to manage themselves in those times where it's really tough.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, I mean, maybe it's just me, but if I'm super motivated, I'll just keep going until I'm done, right? Like until I'm like, okay, cool. It's been 8 hours or it's been 6 hours, and I feel proud of what I just did, and I can walk away from it happy. Maybe I'll come back to it later, right? Like whatever that day ends up taking to you. But like on those days where it's tougher to get yourself going, I think having somebody around who is able to help push you that little extra bit that you need, setting a reminder in your phone, something like that, that's like, hey, remember that you got to do this. It's like, make yourself a little checklist. I mean, that's one of the things that I do as well, is like, just do a little to-do list. If I have 3 things off my to-do list, then I'm happy with my day. I can tell myself that I can stop. But if I can continue on that list, and then now I've got 5 things or 6 things or 7 things on, I'm like, I've had a good productive day. Right. And then you just set the next one for the next day or for the next week or however you need to do it. Right. So
and there's that structure too, because I think that, well, like as I was picking up on a lot of things that you were saying, there was the clarity in the like time means nothing when you're really passionate and dedicated about something, that like time can pass and it feels like, oh my gosh, wow, like where is the time gone? Because there doesn't feel like that forcing of something. Whereas when there's something that you clearly don't really want to do, that there's a lot of like almost like barriers that come against it. There's a lot of like, you don't really want to put your energy into this. You feel like it's something you have to do. And so when you said like the difference between like your job and your career is because like there's something where you're like, I just really would love the money with this because I would love this to put this toward like, well, just furthering my life, being able to sustain myself in other ways. But then on the flip side, there's also your career that sure, you're seeing like an excellent amount of just like take home in terms like, but you're choosing to put it into your business because that's where you're seeing the most growth and transformation. But you are your business too. So it's just like where you're choosing to circulate your money. But at the same time, when you're because something what I love to do, and I love that you create like checklists as well, is because there are times when there feels like there's a lot going on in my head, that there are so many ideas that keep coming, and then if I don't write them down, then I'll forget. But that there are also things along the way that continue, that when at first they felt like a really big thing, because I was learning. And so my mind was just like totally focused on trying to build these connections in my brain, that when I was learning them, it felt like a lot. But then when I started to write them down, it felt easier because it became almost like a pattern, and it became a routine structure, and it became something that just became part of my life. Like I became a podcaster or became a YouTuber, as opposed to thinking about or going like the if ands of like, oh, what would it be to do this? Like, how am I supposed to do this? I don't even know what the formatting is. But everything along the way, as long as you're dedicated to it, there's just going to be one thing that you learn that you can take home and feel like so proud of. And then there's going to be another thing that you're like, okay, now I'm going to learn this. And it's just like an added extra step. But being able to like have a list of things, like what would you love to do to be able to forward every single day your business that is Loops, and the band that is Loops. And you were saying that every single day you put something towards it, that 1% shift, that's going to make the difference in the long run. Because if you chose not to put your energy into it, then nothing would happen. But every step along the way, even if it was 3 things, and you said that it's okay if it was just one of them, but at least you wrote it down, you told yourself like, this is where I'm putting my focus and energy, and this is what I would love to see. I would love to see myself doing this, knowing that I have like a vision for the future, that this is what it's gonna be like. But I know it's not gonna happen all at once, because honestly, it'd be boring if it happened all at once. Like there's
Exactly.
the pride that you took in being able to say, I accomplished this. And I hope that you're really proud of
Of
yourself.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because I feel so much pride in just learning more about your start, and learning about how there's there's more than just what you see on the outside. That there's, well, of course there is, that there's like a lot of mental matters that go into it, a lot of where am I going to choose to focus my time, that like sometimes that days feel really, really rigorous, that there was that balance and clarity between finding the boundaries that you wanted to set between like working at the golf course, but also wanting and holding true to this vision. Because you could have said like at any point in time, through COVID, through learning how to do this, through like even like trying to learn how to play the guitar, there were so many times where you could have given up and said this is too hard. But that because you were so passionate about it, that you wanted to hold to it, that every step along the way, that even though it felt rigorous, there was something that kept compelling you to do it anyways. And I find a lot of inspiration with that, because there's so many times where like I feel like I want to give up, and there's so many times where I have given up, but then there's another part of me that says like, you can try again. Like there's like, as you're living, like there's no other better, like there's no better time than the present to be able to just start again. And even if it's just so little, that if you're able to lift yourself up just in a way that you're just like, you know what, nailed it. Like I did this one thing, knowing that it's holding to my vision, knowing that I didn't do it yesterday. I could have not done it at all, but you still did it. And that now you're seeing even more of like the fruits of your labor. And I'm really, because as we're going to be closing off this soon, that I'm so excited to see where that you're going. I know it's going to
Thank
be
you.
like sold out stadiums, of course, because that's what I would love for you.
Yeah.
And I know that that's what you'd love for yourself. But even knowing that where you are now and how it's like all coming together, but that like, you know, there's always going to be more. But like, if there's any like takeaway words that you'd love to like share for the audience that will help them just like further their passion for maybe when the moments get tough, or maybe when they feel like they would love like a more sense of direction. Yeah, what would you have anything to say for that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, like you were kind of saying there, it's, maybe one day I'll get to the point where I'm able to sell out stadiums or sell out arenas or sell out clubs. Like if I can
Yeah.
sell out pubs, I'm just kind of happy. So I'm appreciating where I am today. And I think that everybody should just take that moment to appreciate where they are right now,
Mm,
because even if it's the toughest moment of your life, it doesn't mean that it's the end of your life. It's just the hardest moment that you're in.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not the end of the road. It's not the darkest of the times or anything like that. Right. So there's always more to look forward to. One of the things that I also really had to learn along the way is that, you know, I can surround myself with like all these amazing people, and they're always going to have my back, but you've also got to love yourself and appreciate what you do. Right. So if you don't love what you're going to do as much, nobody's going to want it more than you. Nobody's going to force you to get up tomorrow and say, this is how your day is going to go.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that everybody's able to motivate themselves. You just got to find that little piece of motivation inside of yourself.
Yeah.
And like I said, just appreciate where you are right now, because you know what, it's not going to last forever. And you know what, it's pretty good where we're at right now.
Super great where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I love those takeaway words, that it's just appreciating the journey along the way and finding that motivation within yourself, but also surrounding yourself by others who maybe when you're feeling a little bit like you're unmotivated, that those people will always be around you to be able to lift you back up.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
This is
heck
super
yeah.
cool.
This is amazing.
This is awesome.
Thank you all for joining me today, because it's my absolute pleasure to be here with you. I'd love to hear your thoughts about today's content and any inspirational words of wisdom you'd love to share. I'd also love if you would leave a 5-star review on whatever platform it is you're listening to this on, because it helps in creating even more awesome content. May your day be filled with only love and light, and I look forward to talking with you all real soon.